Hello again, SOTA fans. Well, the weather's not too good outside, so I thought I'd make another video. And I get quite a few emails asking me, what advice I have for someone starting in SOTA. What kind of setup do I use? How do I do it? How long does it take me to set up? You'd be surprised how many questions I get. So I thought I'd actually do my top tips for SOTA. I've got a dozen top tips for SOTA, and I hope they help you at least iron out some of the bugs in your system as you get going. So tip one is to buy a lightweight chair. This is the Helinox ground chair. It weighs 520 grams and obviously it's got a nice small pack size. When you do SOTA, you've got to remember when you get good at SOTA, you're going to be sat down for upwards of an hour. I've been sat down for almost 3 hours non-stop working stations. Some people work over 100 stations sat on bare rock. Even if you've got a camping mat under you, it's going to be really uncomfortable. So the first thing you need to do is look after your comfort. Get a ground chair or get any chair that's light enough to carry. There are some cheaper alternatives to this. These cost about €100. If you look on Amazon, they're a bit heavier, maybe about 700 to 800 grams, but they cost about half the price. It would get you going. So tip one, get a chair. Tip two, learn CW, learn Morse Code. And I've got my Morse 32 here. I'll put a link in the description. If you're learning Morse Code, the Morse 32 is really helpful. It's going to really help you get your sending right. I've noticed working at the Graz Morse Code School that the sending of our pupils, now they all use this Morse 32, has greatly improved. You know, it's a lot better than it used to be. The timing, the spacing, everything is improving, and the sending is so important. If people can't understand what you're saying, of course it's a waste of time. Morse code is not only of course the most enjoyable mode to work in amateur radio, it's extremely useful for SOTA. It's king as far as SOTA is concerned, because you go from something like a KX2 to something like this, which is a mountain topper, something the size of a pack of cards, weighing a little over 100 grams. Yeah, so that is a massive weight saving. Learning Morse code is the single best thing you can do for your SOTA experience, I think. So there we go, and there's also plenty of software now. I'll put a couple of links in the description, like Morse Machine is great, that goes on Android. I believe there's also a version for Apple now. I think Morse Machine's good. There's Just Learn Morse, and of course when you get on the air you can actually have a Morse QSO. You'll need to work with Morse Runner, so you can work a pilot. That's also very important. Right, number three is go out with a friend. When you're first starting SOTA, if you know someone in your local club who does SOTA already and is established, ask if you can go out with them, and maybe you can split modes. Maybe you can do voice and they can do Morse, whichever you want. But look at their setup, take your gear along by all means, but examine their setup, see how they work, how they set up, and how they operate basically. What are they carrying? What are they leaving out? That will tell you a hell of a lot that you can only really learn with experience. So always try to buddy up at least once when you're starting out. If you've got a club, maybe you could set up a buddy system, for new entrants to SOTA. Let me see, number four, use an end fed or an end connected antenna when you start. This is my end connected Windham for 80 meters and above. I made this myself. And why do I say this? Of course, I'm not telling you exactly what antenna to use. It's great fun to experiment with antennas, verticals and verticals, G5RV. All these kind of antennas are great to play with in SOTA, and that's the whole idea, experimenting. But I think when you're starting out, you're going to find that an end-fed antenna is simple to get going with. It's pretty idiot-proof. If you've got an internal tuner, you just hook that up, hit the tune button and you're on the air. Okay, there's no messing around, no forgetting links and things like that, no carrying feeder, because it's end connected. Of course, you need only a fraction of the feeder you would need if you're going to carry a dipole, because you've got to get right up to the middle of your dipole. So you're looking at maybe 12 meters of feeder. That's a lot of weight. I think even as a beginner, you really need to focus on getting your weight down. So just to begin with, keep it simple, just use an end fed. They're pretty bulletproof. Of course, this needs a tuner, but if you used a 49, say a 49:1 transformer, yeah, your wideband transformer, then that's a no tune end fed. If you're using over 10 watts or something, even at over 20, the losses are irrelevant. You're going to get your contacts. So, keep it simple to start with. Number 5. Use Velcro straps. Okay, of course, to put up an antenna, we always think of using guy lines. It's natural, and on many summits you will have to use guy lines. I always carry guy lines with me because sometimes I'll need them, but I also carry a wide selection of Velcro straps. I've got long ones here, one from SOTA Beam, one from my local model shop, with something in the middle, very short ones. Yeah, there's a very short one. Carry a range of Velcro straps, because if there's a fence on that summit, then you're going to simply use a Velcro strap your mast around the fence, and you're away. And from taking maybe half an hour to set up, you're down to maybe just 15 minutes to set up. They save so much time and hassle. You haven't got tourists or other walkers tripping over your guy lines. They're great at Velcro straps, and really brilliant. So that's my other tip. Let's see, what else would I suggest? Right, when you're starting out, avoid any mast over 6 meters. Any mast over 6 meters. I used this when I was starting out. It's a 10-meter mini from DXY. It says mini. It weighs a ton. It weighs about 1.5 kilos, and it's great. You get lots of height and you get a great pile up, but you just don't need it. You're not going to have any less success by using a mast under 6 meters. They work. There's no question about it. Everyone knows it. Everyone who's in SOTA knows that something like this will do just as good a job. The difference is so hard to tell. It's really hard to tell any difference. Okay, I do still use this when I'm using 80 meters because I need a little bit extra height on 80. That helps. And if I've not got a big walk-in, if I'm only looking at maybe 2 or 3 kilometers walk-in to an easy summit, yeah, I'll take that. Have some fun on 80. No problem. It's a good mast. But for general SOTA use, I would never use anything bigger than this. This is my tactical mini. It's about 6.4. It's nice and stiff. It's still a bit on the heavy side compared to some, but I like it. Certainly don't go any bigger than this when you're starting. You just don't need it. Okay, next, make a flight deck. What is a flight deck? When you've got all your equipment set up, you're going to want to have it laid out in front of you. You need to sit on your knees here, so it sits on your knees, and then you can control everything, okay? And you need everything arranged. I've just used Perspex here. You can use super glue. Super glue is great for gluing Perspex because it's an acrylate. This is better than araldite. And you'll notice I've used magnets to fix everything. So here's my Morse key, yeah? I've made little holders to stop it wobbling, and then 2 neodymium magnets, and that just doesn't move anywhere. I can operate that one-handed. I don't need to put my hand on top. I don't need to hold it in my other hand. It gives me my other hand is free now to do my logging or adjust the radio as I want. So obviously keeping the radio there in your field of vision, you can also see what's going on. Maybe get your meter reading when you're giving your RST report. It's this is great, and of course you've got your logging device here. I use my phone. I'll get onto that in a minute, but it's very cheap to make. I have 2. You notice I've got another set of magnets there because I have 2 different keys. I've got my Shortaster and my palm paddle, so you can sort it out, so you can adjust, so you can make it modular, so you can have different bits of gear with it. A flight deck, it makes it so much easier to do an activation. We'll come back to that in a minute. After your flight deck, you've got to have something to put all of this in. Make sure you get a rucksack. And my advice is when you're looking for a rucksack, there are two main things you need to look for. That is side straps. This is my 3FUL Tutor 26. It's actually a spare. I have another one of these that's already in service. I bought this. This was the last one available, so I was very lucky to get it, and I bought this in case the other one ever fails. I love it so much, I never want another rucksack. Hopefully with these two they will keep me going for as long as I'm in SOTA. But I say the two main things you definitely want, firstly, are side straps in a pocket, so you can put your mast on the side, you haven't got it sticking in the top of the rucksack. The other thing is try to get one under 500 grams. So many rucksacks today are just too heavy. Some are almost 2 kilos. And you know, 2 kilos is almost 1.5 kilos too heavy. That's 1.5 kilos you don't need to be carrying. There are plenty of rucksacks weighing under 500 grams that will do everything you need for SOTA. And you know, if it tears or it wears out, things wear out, you know, just be careful with it. But they don't cost that much either. You know, you definitely shouldn't be paying more than say 150 euros for a rucksack. This was just about 80 euros, yeah? So don't spend too much and don't get a rucksack that's too heavy, yeah? I mean, definitely not over 1 kilo and if possible, under 500 grams. Next, buy a trekking umbrella. Okay, a lot of people, particularly with the Helinox crowd, they love the KX2 and the KX3. I have a KX2. In broad daylight, in blazing sunshine, it gets really hot. And people often complain to Helinox saying, this thing's overheating, but any radio in direct sunlight in the middle of summer is going to get red hot, and it may even roll back the power out if it gets too hot. And people have looked at adding heat sinks, adding cooling fans and stuff to keep it cool. You know, all these elaborate things that require more power and a bigger battery to power it all. There's no need, just get a trekking umbrella. You'll find if you keep the sunlight off your rig. Yeah, I open it up, it's probably bad luck, but there we go. It's, you can see it's silver on the outside, black on the inside. If you keep the sunlight off your rig, it will work fine. You don't need any cooling and no heat sink, no fan, nothing. The other great thing is once you've got one of these, if it rains, you use it in the rain. Yeah? So all you need to carry in summer, I don't take a waterproof, I take a windproof, a shell like what they call a soft shell windproof with some water resistance. It's not fully waterproof, and if it rains I just put my umbrella up, yeah? And it means my upper body breathes much better. I'm not sweating into some thick rain jacket, and I just feel comfortable all round. Yeah? And of course, in the blazing summer sunshine, I'm feeling nice and cool. Again, you can use your velcro straps, velcro strap it to a trekking pole, have it on the back of your chair, get your chair aligned so the sun's coming from behind you, and it's really, really comfortable. It's so nice activating on a summer's day with one of these. It makes a big difference. Right, back to the flight deck. Use your phone for logging. Okay, I mean, I know a lot of people say, oh, you know, paper and pen, it will never break down. That's true, it won't. But I have used my phone for logging since 2016 and my phone has never broken down. I've never missed an activation because the logging program on my phone didn't work or my phone had no batteries. They just work. Phones are so reliable now. This idea of not becoming too dependent on technology, yeah, maybe. Learn how to use a map and compass, of course, but they work, yeah? Use it. It's much, much faster than writing everything down on a pen and paper. Remember, when you're just starting out, time is of the essence. You're going to be in a bit of a fluster with all those stations coming back to you. You know, if you can log just nicely, type it in, and you're not really rushing with your logging, that's one less thing to stress you out as you're activating. I'll put a link in. I use VK Portalog because it's free. There are other solutions that you have to pay for, but they work. They do essentially the same job as VK Portalog. So use your smartphone. You can use a tablet for logging if you want a bigger screen. Tablet works fine, but I have no trouble reading my smartphone. What else do we have? Oh yes, I said, of course, if you're going to be logging with your phone, what is going to help you is a Bluetooth keyboard, okay? And you'll notice that I've put two little stoppers there, so my Bluetooth keyboard sits at the bottom there. It's like contest logging, it's so quick. Much better, and you can save. So Control and S, it saves automatically. There's lots of stuff you can do. You can navigate with your cursor buttons. So if you're wearing gloves in winter, you're not trying to tap your capacitive touchscreen through gloves and things like that. A Bluetooth keyboard is also very good to work with a smartphone. Right, we're almost through it. That was number 10. Number 11, make a checklist of everything you are going to take. So lay it out on the table, make a checklist, and before you go out on your activation, put everything in a rucksack, tick it off your checklist, because when you're starting out, you will forget something. I forget something all the time. I was on Rucksack on Saturday. I'd forgotten my guy lines. You know, it was crazy. And Rucksack is the one summit where you need guy lines. You know, I'm always forgetting stuff, and I'm sure as a beginner I forgot even more stuff. I forgot antennas, I forgot masts, you name it. You know, you're going to forget it, so make a checklist. Right, and the last one, number 12, might seem like a very insignificant thing. Get some of these little accessory carabiners. Why? Because they're absolutely brilliant on top of your mast as an antenna top. And I'll show you one I have here. This is one I've made, and this is actually to go on my big 10-meter mast. And I'll show you why this is so good. If I just get the top section out here, it should fit on nicely there. There we go. You can just wiggle it over, and now you can just clip your wire through here. Why is that better than some things? Well, if you had some antenna tops, the wire cannot move through it. The wire's kind of in a loop through it, so it can't move either side. When you've got a carabiner, if the wire's free to move through your carabiner, that gives you so much more flexibility, because sometimes you're going to need to set up almost as an inverted L, because you can't put your mast too far away from you. Sometimes it's going to be more like a sloper, so this is going to be almost at the end of the antenna. A carabiner gives you massive flexibility, and you don't have to thread the end of the antenna through it. Once you're finished, you just open the gate and pull it out. So a little carabiner as an antenna top is a very useful thing to have. When I first started using these, what I found was a good way to do it is look around your office. If you work in an office or at home, you'll find pens. Some of these modern pens, they have a little rubber grip on them. If you twizzle it, you find you might actually be able to get the rubber grip off the pen. Your colleagues will start wondering why there's no rubber grips on all your pens, but you don't need to tell them that, you know, what you're doing with it. And you just put it on your carabiner, thread it through, and there you go. You're ready to go. Very simple. If that's still a bit too big for the top of your antenna, what you can do is you can push this stuff. It's this a little bit of closed cell foam that they stick semiconductors in. So when you buy a microchip, you might get some of it stuck in this closed cell foam, the anti-static foam. If you just cut it down, you find you can get it just to the right size to fit through there. So then there's enough resistance when it's going on the top of a small antenna mast, a really thin, maybe like carbon fibre antenna. You've still got the resistance and it won't slip straight down. What I do nowadays is I've got these new carabiners and silicon tubing. I like these, I really love these SOTA Summit accessory carabiners, not sponsored by SOTA Summit, I have to pay for these. And as the tubing, I found this in continual UV and continual use outdoors, it perishes and it starts to split. So what I did is I also got some food grade silicon tubing. I've got plenty of it here. I think this is 9mm with a 1mm wall. A 1mm, well, we can go into this, different sizes will give you a different amount of stretch. 1mm has a nice amount of stretch to it and it's quite big. It's great for this one. But for my smaller antenna, I have some 6mm with 2mm wall, which is much stiffer. So I've actually got quite a lot of this left over. I've got 9 of these carabiners, and I've got about 2 meters of silicon tubing. So if you want one, I'll put an email address, so you can drop me an email, and I can post one to you. I'm charging about €2.50 for the carabiner, and with that you'll get a selection of silicon tubing, and it'll be about €3 for the postage. So €3 for the carabiner, €3 for the postage. You'll find all 3 of these would cost you €6, and the silicon tubing costs about €10 for 2 meters. So all in all, it works out cheaper. So there you go, there's an opportunity. If you want to buy one of these carabiners, then like I say, drop me a line and I can let you have some of my spare, but it'll be first come, first served. So that is it. That is all. There are all my my dozen top tips for SOTA. I hope they give you at least a bit of help as you start out on your journey, and help your first activations go a bit more smoothly. So I hope to hear you out on the air sometime. Maybe we'll even do Summit to Summit, you never know. Until then, all the best.